But guess what, guys? Guess what? I got a double dose for you. I got a double dose of Charlie Kirk content, baby. We're gonna keep the ball rolling, keep the party going. I don't want this party to end, and neither do you. So we're gonna do some more Charlie Kirk content. I got a nice little article for you people from Kansas.com. The Wichita Eagle, I guess, is what it's called. I assume this is uh, a local paper from Wichita. So anyway, I have no idea what this article is about. I didn't even know that there was this Charlie Kirk Act. So, and I assume this is going to be a piece of local legislation for Kansas. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and read this article uh, by Dion Leffler. This is Kansas Charlie Kirk Act versus the Law of Unintended Consequences. Opinion. You gotta love a good opinion piece, man. They're so much more fun than straight news. Okay. Imagine that you open Pandora's box and inside it there's a can of worms. So you open that up too. That's a great visual to start with. That's what the Kansas legislature did this week when Republican lawmakers overrode Governor Laura Kelly's veto of the Kansas Intellectual Rights and Knowledge Act, better known as the Kirk Act, after slaying conservative media personality and activist Charlie Kirk. Oh man. The I feel like did they make this legislation before or after Charlie Kirk just became a internet meme for for Zoomers to like to make fun of people for or whatever. Um, I don't know. We'll see. I want to know what this act is about. I sincerely doubt this is going. I sincerely doubt this is going to letter to the editor to turn out the way its legislative authors intend. More on that in a minute. Mr. Kirk was famous for creating the conservative campus group Turning Point USA and traveling the country to argue his political stances with liberal-leaning students who objected to his views on racial and LGBTQ issues. Kirk was assassinated last September during a speech at Utah Valley University. Yeah, he was advancing the cause of white supremacy for the youth. He was very, very good at that. And he was also very good at getting the dweebiest, dorkiest little fucking nerds and their little button ups and their pocket protectors and their duct taped glasses to come out and like argue that like actually it's okay that we torture trans people because they deserve it or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, all the people who are most in need of like a wedgie, like he got them all to come out and just instead of being annoying just to their like family or whatever, because God knows they didn't have friends. But instead of just being annoying to their family, he was able to convince them to come out of hiding and be annoying to everybody fucking else. That was probably his biggest contribution, is getting all the dorky ass incels to I don't know, raise the flag of non-consensual sex or whatever their flag would be. Sorry. Okay. I'll continue. I'm memeing too much for my own good right now. I'm going to get kirked. The Kirk Act was the second law of tribute the legislature passed this year in his memory. The first enacted in February designates Mr. Kirk's October 14th birthday as Charlie Kirk Free Speech Day in Kansas. Dude, they made this way too early. They tried to memorialize him, what, like a month? Was that a month after? A month after he died, when they don't even know what his legacy is going to turn into. I was saying from that day, like, or from the day it happened, I was like, I was texting my friends. I was like, dude, we don't know what, like, because everybody was getting canceled, everybody was getting censored, people were losing their jobs and shit. I just told them, I was like, dude, we don't know what his actual legacy is going to be. It could be like people could just forget about him. But it turns out that my assumption that people would just forget about him was wrong. It's even worse than that. People now treat his legacy as a complete and total joke. And I got news for these people. October 14th, Charlie Kirk Free Speech Day, there's going to be a lot of free speech happening on that day. like a lot of free speech happening on that day. And I don't know if they're gonna if Kansas is gonna be too fond of all of the free speech that's going on Charlie Kirk Free Speech Day next October, because he is just a straight up meme at this point. It is like hilarious. Okay, sorry, let's continue. While that was mostly symbolic, the newer Kirk Act severely limits college and university administrators' authority to regulate activism on campus. The newer Kirk Act severely limits college and university administration's authorities to regulate activism on campus. Oh, God. Is this okay? I'm giving a quick prediction real quick. I haven't read further than this. Is this going to be like some like, oh, the Kirk Act actually allows too much free speech? The Kirk Act allows too much free speech, and authorities won't be able to like tamp down like pro-Palestine protests or something because of this act. I don't know. That's kind of my prediction now, just based on that last sentence, but we'll see. It essentially opens all outdoor spaces to expressive activity and expands on existing religious freedom law to give equal recognition and benefits to all political or ideological student organizations. Anyone who feels aggrieved can sue the school for monetary damages. Okay, yeah, I think I know where this is going. I think I know where this is going. I think I was right, but we'll see. It's an odd crop of free speech activists we're growing this legislative season. These were mostly the same people who advocated for the doxing and firing of anyone who criticized, or in some case quoted, Kirk after his death. That was a hard sentence to follow, but so the free speech people, yeah, they're the people who canceled everybody for making fun of Kirk. But now even I think the conservatives are getting in on the, making fun of Charlie Kirk bandwagon. They realize that the water feels too nice in this on this side of the pond. They're like, yeah, okay, fine. We'll beam on him too. Sure, whatever. You win. Okay. The legislature's dream is that the Kirk Act will spark a conservative renaissance on college campuses, with hordes of students aligning themselves with Turning Point and creating generations of Republican voters for decades to come. Yeah, that's not going to happen, because just they're all fucking dorks and dweebs, and conservatism is not cool. Like, it's lame. Like, you're not going to get people to suddenly, but you might get people suing the school. They're trying to make it easier to sue the school for just general aggrievement or whatever. So like, you might make that happen, I guess. Okay. My lived experience tells me they are about to be deeply disappointed. Mine too. I went to college in the 70s and 80s at California State University, Northridge. We had the same sort of anything goes rules for campus activism that the Kirk Act now mandates. You haven't lived until you're on your way to your world history class and have to fend off some dude with a hammer and sickle armband trying to convince you to get in on the ground floor of the coming revolution. Yeah, it's just, that's radical. That's, someone, I mean, there's always going to be ultras that are not very good at communicating the finer points of anti-capitalist propaganda, like yours truly. But yeah, that's just like a fun thing to happen. And to be honest, uh there are almost no real like communist sort of groups, I would say, in most colleges. I'm sure in the bigger ones there are. Um, I would say, but DSA I think does have pretty big like school, school people or school organizations or whatever. But or any other dozens of other radical groups that popped up in support of this or that cause over the course of the school year. Back then, the San Fernando Valley had the largest conscious concentration of Jewish people outside the state of Israel. Maybe still does. My college girlfriend was Jewish. Yeah, see, what did I say at the beginning? They're going to be pissed off that this could be used by pro-Palestine protesters, and I think that's where we are heading. We could hardly walk across campus without some buffoon coming up trying to convert us with the promise that we could become evangelical Christians without giving up our Jewish cultural identity. I was non-religious at the time, but it was deeply offensive to my girlfriend to have her deeply held beliefs insulted in such a way. I mean, you're just talking about evangelicals. They're fucking annoying, but you live in America. Like evangelicals, even evangelizing or whatever is like such a huge part of American Christianity that like yeah, I'm sorry, but you just kind of have to deal with it. I'm agnostic and I have to deal with it and I find it annoying too sometimes. But I just be like, yeah, sorry, not interested. That's what I say. Then there were the cultists. I don't mean that in the modern sense where a liberal might call someone a Trump cultist. Uh, these were the real deal. I mean, there's not that much of a difference, to be honest. They'd send out cute, braless hippie chicks in sundresses to chat you up. Man, is this dude like 60? Is he like 80 years old? What is happening? I mean, clearly he's talking about, I guess, the 70s and 80s. So yes, obviously he is like old as shit, but um, he also mentally like has grandpa brain as well with how he's phrasing these things. But he sounds like a fucking square. He sounds like honestly like he would have been ripe for the picking for Turning Point USA. He would have been one of those dorks that I was talking about that need, you know, a good wedgie and a swirly. Is what it sounds like to me. But they'd send out cute, braless hippie chicks in sundresses to chat you up and eventually invite you to come spend a weekend with a group at the compound. If female, substitute a bearded hunky guy in a tank top. Did this happen to you, dude? Did this happen directly to you? This seems like a very specific experience. Um, I never fell for it. Sure, you didn't, buddy. But I knew people who did, to the detriment of their studies, their bank accounts, and their mental stability. In fact, one of the first newspaper opinion columns I ever wrote was for one of our student newspapers calling on the university to get these con artists off the property. By the time my sons were in college, rules had been made to bring some order to the chaos, and I don't see that they were any less free because of it. I'm not saying there haven't been occasional overreactions since my college days that have unduly restricted on-campus speech from both left and the right. There have been, yeah, usually for the left. Um, the reason that I say usually for the left is because right-wing ideology fundamentally does not challenge power. It doesn't challenge the power of the like of the institutions of universities. That's number one. That's why they don't care if you come out and like if you come to their campus and spout your, you know, bullshit like Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA bullshit or whatever about, you know, how black people are inferior and women need to get back in the kitchen or whatever, right? Like reactionary viewpoints like that fundamentally do not challenge power at all. So they don't really care. You see what actually happens when you challenge power if you look at the Palestine protests and the encampments that happened, because when you actually challenge power, you're going to get suspended. You're going to get thrown out of college, and you're going to have police come in and brutalize you, right? I've never seen police come in and tear gas a Turning Point USA event, right? You know what I'm saying? I've never seen police come in and start like tearing, you know, uh, tearing dweeby little college boys by the hair, like pulling them off the quad or whatever, you know. Like I've never seen that happen. I've seen that happen all the time for leftist causes. We saw it with Vietnam. If you want to get back to this, you know, old ass almost dead person's perspective of the 70s and 80s or whatever, like yeah, there were people were getting brutalized constantly for the Vietnam stuff. We saw it with like the Black Panthers or with you know, radical, you know, black efforts during the civil rights movement and all that sort of stuff. Like you'll know when you're challenging power because there will be a cop on the other side trying to, you know, shove his boot on your neck. Like and if that's not happening, then you're fundamentally not challenging power. And that's why they don't care if these right-wing freaks go out and preach their gospel of white supremacy. Anyway, I'm not saying they're having blah blah blah. Okay. But I think we could probably work those things out via dialogue without the sweeping mandates of the Kirk Act requiring university. That's such a funny name, though. The Kirk Act requiring university to platform everything from the Westboro Baptist to the Revolutionary Communist Youth Brigade. freedom of expression is dear to my heart. I wouldn't do what I do if it wasn't. Uh, I don't fundamentally think so, to be honest. Most especially conservatives who claim that they are for free speech, they think free speech is like the ability to say slurs and stuff, and they want to be able to like the fact that you're even arguing against this act, because I'm guessing you're afraid that pro-Palestine people's viewpoints are going to be forced to be tolerated on campus, like goes to show exactly what your motivations are. You want to be able to have all of the free speech that you enjoy, but never have that speech, but never allow speech that actually challenges power. Is my assumption, because that's what most people who want freedom of speech want. What is not dear to me is turning our college students into a captive audience for every nut job with an axe to grind and time on their hands. That's not what college campuses are for. So he didn't get that much into it, but I am absolutely positive that he is scared of not of them not being able to crack down on Palestine, on pro-Palestine protests in the future. I think that it was this guy's fear. That was a fun article to read, because you got to, like, particularly for you, the viewer, because you got to witness me in real time analyze and try to understand and figure out the bias of an article, which, by the way, is something that everybody out there, when you're reading articles or watching news stories, you should be doing. You should be able to read it, get a sense of the bias, and then take that article for what it's worth, understanding that bias.